What if I told you that your birth certificate is lying to you? What if the number printed on your ID, 60, 65, 70, 75, has absolutely nothing to do with how old your body actually is right now, at this very moment, inside every single cell, every vessel, every organ beating and breathing inside you? What if science, not wishful thinking, not Instagram motivation, not expensive supplements, but real, peer-reviewed, laboratory-confirmed science has discovered that certain people between the ages of 60 and 80 are biologically younger today than they were 10 years ago? And what if the difference between those people and everyone else is not money, not genetics, not luck, but 5 specific things that you can test right now, today, in your own living room? Here's the most shocking part. Most doctors will never tell you this. Most hospitals will never measure this. Most people will go their entire lives never knowing that their body had the power to age backwards, and they never activated it. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, everything you thought you knew about aging is about to be completely, permanently, and beautifully destroyed. What if the most dangerous lie ever told to human beings is not a political lie, not a historical lie, but a biological one? The lie that aging is a one-way street, that after 60 your body is simply counting down, that decline is destiny, that the best years are behind you, and that all you can do is slow the inevitable fall? What if that entire story is wrong? Not partially wrong, not slightly inaccurate, completely, fundamentally, scientifically wrong. There is a quiet revolution happening right now in the field of longevity science. Researchers are studying men and women in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s whose bodies are confusing every traditional medical assumption ever written. Their blood markers look like people in their 40s. Their cellular function resembles someone 2 full decades younger. Their organs, heart, lungs, kidneys, brain, are not declining. They are regenerating. And the scientists studying these extraordinary human beings keep arriving at the same stunning conclusion. These people did not win the genetic lottery. They did not take miracle drugs. They did not spend fortunes on treatments available only to the wealthy elite. They simply, and this is where everything changes, they simply preserved 5 specific physical abilities that most people casually, unknowingly, tragically allow to disappear. 5 things. That is the entire distance between aging forward and aging backwards. 5 things that your body is capable of right now, today, that serve as the most accurate biological report card science has ever discovered for human longevity. So let us talk about what your body is actually capable of. Let us talk about the science of what is really happening inside you. And let us talk about why, if you are between 60 and 80 years old and you can still do these 5 things, you are not just surviving. You are biologically, measurably, undeniably aging in reverse. The first thing we need to understand, before we get to the 5 abilities, is something that almost nobody talks about, because it is invisible, it is silent, and it is working inside your body at this exact moment, whether you are aware of it or not. Your body has a system of blood vessels so vast, so intricate, so impossibly complex, that if you stretched every single blood vessel from a single human body end to end, they would wrap around the Earth 2.5 times, 2.5 times around the entire planet. That network, those 60,000 miles of arteries, veins, and capillaries, is not just transporting blood. It is transporting life itself, oxygen to your brain, nutrients to your muscles, signals to your immune system, repair instructions to your damaged tissues. Every single function your body performs, every breath, every thought, every heartbeat, every moment of healing, it all travels through that network. And here is where aging becomes not a mystery, but a map. As people age, that network begins to fail. Capillaries collapse. Blood flow to critical tissues slows. Organs begin receiving less oxygen, fewer nutrients, fewer repair signals. The body starts operating like a city where the supply chains are breaking down. Deliveries are late. Some neighborhoods stop receiving food entirely. Infrastructure crumbles because repair crews can no longer reach the damage. That is conventional aging. That is the story most people are living. But in the people who are aging backwards, the ones confusing researchers and defying every expectation, that network is not collapsing. It is thriving. New blood vessels are forming. Old pathways are being restored. Every tissue, every organ, every cell is receiving the full supply of everything it needs to not just survive, but repair, rebuild, and regenerate. The question that changes everything is simple. What are those people doing differently? And the answer begins with the first of the 5 abilities. The first ability is single leg balance. Stand on one leg. Right now, if you can, stand up, lift one foot off the ground, and hold it. How long can you hold it? If you can hold that position for 10 seconds or more with your eyes open, your body has just revealed something extraordinary about itself. If you can hold it for 20 seconds, science considers that a marker of exceptional neurological health. If you can hold it for 30 seconds or beyond, researchers classify your balance system as functioning at a biological age significantly younger than your chronological years. Now, here is what most people do not understand about balance. They think it is a muscle thing. They think it is about strong legs or good coordination. Balance is not a muscle function. Balance is a neurological masterpiece. When you stand on one leg, your brain is performing thousands of calculations per second. It is receiving signals from your inner ear, from the pressure sensors in the soles of your feet, from the stretch receptors in every muscle of your leg, from your visual cortex, from your cerebellum. And it is integrating all of those signals in real time, making thousands of micro adjustments every single second to keep you upright. That process requires healthy blood flow to multiple brain regions simultaneously. It requires intact nerve pathways from your brain to your muscles. It requires that your cerebellum, the ancient, powerful coordination center of your brain, is receiving adequate oxygen and nutrition through a healthy vascular network. When people begin losing their balance in their 60s and 70s, doctors often dismiss it as normal aging. But research tells a very different story. Loss of balance in this age group is one of the earliest detectable signs of reduced cerebral blood flow, meaning the blood vessels feeding the brain are beginning to fail before any other obvious symptom appears. Conversely, people who maintain exceptional balance into their 70s and 80s consistently show superior cerebrovascular health, lower rates of dementia, lower rates of stroke, and higher overall longevity. Their brains are being fed. Their neural pathways are intact. Their vascular network is delivering. And here's the part that will change how you think about this forever. Balance can be trained. It can be restored. The brain's ability to improve its balance processing, its neuroplasticity, does not disappear at 60 or 70. Studies have shown that people in their 70s who began specific balance training improved their performance dramatically within weeks, and those improvements were accompanied by measurable increases in cerebral blood flow. Your brain is not finished. It is waiting to be challenged. If you can still balance, you are proving that your brain's vascular system is alive, active, and operating with the vitality of someone far younger. And if your balance has slipped, science says you can get it back. And getting it back means feeding your brain with the blood flow it has been quietly starving for. The second ability is grip strength. This one shocks people every single time because it sounds almost absurdly simple. Grip strength. The force with which your hand can squeeze an object. How can that possibly tell us anything profound about biological age? Because grip strength is not measuring your hand. It is measuring your entire system. There is a landmark study, one of the most cited longevity studies ever conducted, that followed hundreds of thousands of people across multiple countries over decades. The researchers measured one thing at the beginning of the study: grip strength. Then they waited, and what they found stunned the medical community. Grip strength was a more powerful predictor of cardiovascular mortality than blood pressure, more predictive than cholesterol levels, more predictive than smoking history. The people with the weakest grip strength had dramatically higher rates of heart attack, stroke, and early death, not from hand problems, but from systemic cardiovascular failure. Why does the strength of your hand predict the health of your heart? Because grip strength is a proxy measurement for something called sarcopenia, the progressive loss of muscle mass and muscle quality that accelerates with age. And muscle is not just tissue that moves your body. Muscle is an endocrine organ. It produces hormones and signaling molecules called myokines that travel through your bloodstream and regulate inflammation, insulin sensitivity, immune function, and vascular health. When muscle mass is preserved, when grip strength remains high, the body is producing adequate quantities of these protective molecules. The anti-inflammatory signals are flowing. The insulin regulation is intact. The vascular system is receiving the chemical messages it needs to maintain its integrity. When muscle mass declines, when grip strength falls, that chemical factory goes quiet. Inflammation rises. Insulin resistance increases. Blood vessels lose their protective signals and begin to deteriorate. The entire system begins its slow, accelerating collapse. And here is what makes this even more extraordinary. Maintaining grip strength is not primarily about going to the gym and lifting heavy weights, though resistance exercise absolutely helps. It is about maintaining the metabolic environment that supports muscle, which means protein intake, which means specific nutrients that support muscle protein synthesis, which means avoiding the chronic inflammation that breaks muscle tissue down faster than it can be rebuilt. People who maintain strong grip strength into their 70s and 80s are telling you that their metabolic environment is healthy, that their inflammatory status is low, that their hormonal system is still producing the signals needed for tissue maintenance. They are not just strong. They are chemically, hormonally, metabolically young. If your grip is still powerful, your body is manufacturing youth. If it has weakened, understanding why, and addressing those root causes through nutrition and movement can genuinely reverse the biological processes that are accelerating your age. The third ability is the ability to rise from the floor without using your hands. Sit down on the floor right now if you are able. Cross your legs if you can. Now stand up, without using your hands, without pushing off your knee, without grabbing a wall or a chair. Just stand. In a famous study conducted in Brazil, researchers gave this exact test to thousands of adults between the ages of 51 and 80. They scored each person between 0 and 10 based on how smoothly and independently they could sit down to the floor and rise back up. They then tracked those participants for an average of 6 years. What they found was extraordinary. For every single point lower on that score, the risk of death from all causes increased by 21%. The people who scored the lowest, who needed significant assistance to get off the floor, were 5 times more likely to die during the study period than those who scored the highest. 5 times more likely to die from a floor-sitting test. This is not about flexibility alone. This is not about strength alone. This test measures the intersection of multiple biological systems simultaneously: muscular strength in your legs, hips, and core, flexibility and joint mobility, neuromuscular coordination, balance and proprioception, and cardiovascular fitness, because rising from the floor without arm assistance requires a burst of effort that taxes the heart and lungs. When all of those systems are functioning well, when blood vessels are delivering adequate oxygen to muscles, when nerve signals are traveling efficiently, when joints retain their mobility because inflammation has not destroyed their cartilage, the movement is fluid, easy, almost effortless. When any of those systems are failing, the movement becomes impossible. And the reason those failures predict mortality so powerfully is that they are windows into the same underlying biological reality: a vascular system that is no longer adequately supplying the body's tissues with what they need to function, repair, and survive. The people who can still rise from the floor with ease at 70 and 75 are demonstrating something that no blood test, no scan, no medical device can capture as efficiently. They are demonstrating that their musculoskeletal system, their nervous system, and their cardiovascular system are all working together in coordinated biological harmony. And that harmony is the definition of biological youth. The fourth ability is cardiovascular endurance, specifically the ability to walk briskly for 30 minutes without stopping. Not run, not sprint. Walk briskly for 30 minutes. This sounds so basic that many people dismiss it. Surely this cannot be a significant marker of biological age. Surely something so simple cannot reveal anything profound about the internal workings of the body. But research consistently shows that walking speed and walking endurance are among the most powerful predictors of longevity ever identified. A comprehensive meta-analysis, a study of studies, aggregating data from tens of thousands of participants, found that people who walked faster and longer had significantly lower rates of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cognitive decline, depression, and all-cause mortality. But the reason why goes far deeper than most people realize. When you walk briskly, when your heart rate elevates, when your breathing deepens, when your muscles demand more oxygen than they receive at rest, your body responds by producing a molecule called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is produced directly by the endothelial cells lining your blood vessels, and it is perhaps the single most important molecule for vascular health ever discovered. Nitric oxide causes blood vessels to dilate. It prevents platelets from clumping together and forming dangerous clots. It reduces the inflammation that damages vessel walls. It signals the body to grow new capillaries, new blood vessels, in tissues that need better circulation. It is, in the most literal sense, the molecule that keeps your vascular system young. And nitric oxide production is stimulated by one thing above almost everything else: physical activity, movement, the cardiovascular demand that comes from walking with intention and purpose. People who walk briskly and regularly are continuously stimulating their endothelium to produce nitric oxide. They are constantly sending the signal to their blood vessels to remain flexible, to remain open, to remain responsive. Their vascular age is being held back, day by day, step by step, by the biochemical consequences of simply moving their bodies. The people who cannot walk 30 minutes without becoming severely winded, without chest pain, without needing to stop, their vascular system is telling the truth about its condition. The endothelium is compromised. Nitric oxide production is inadequate. The vessels are stiff, narrowed, inflamed. The tissues they supply are slowly suffocating. But here is the extraordinary, hopeful, scientifically documented truth. Nitric oxide production can be restored. Vascular flexibility can be recovered. Studies show that even people in their 70s who begin a regular walking program show measurable improvements in endothelial function within weeks, not months, within weeks. The blood vessels begin responding again. The nitric oxide begins flowing. The biological clock begins, in the most literal physiological sense, to turn backward. If you can still walk briskly for 30 minutes, you are actively, continuously dosing your vascular system with the most powerful anti-aging medicine ever identified by science. You are manufacturing biological youth with every single step. The fifth ability is cognitive sharpness, specifically the ability to learn something completely new. Not recall something old, not remember a name or a date. Learn something new, a new language, a new instrument, a new skill, a new technology, a new concept that your brain has never encountered before. If you encounter something unfamiliar and your brain engages with curiosity rather than retreating with frustration, if you can still struggle productively with novelty, absorb new information, form new connections, your brain is demonstrating something that neuroscience now considers the most important marker of cerebral biological age. It is called neuroplasticity. And for decades, scientists believed that it essentially ended in young adulthood, that after a certain age, the brain's wiring was fixed, that new learning was severely limited, that the neural connections of old age were permanent and irreversible. That belief has been completely overturned. Research now confirms that the human brain retains the ability to form new neural connections, new synapses between neurons, well into the 8th and even 9th decade of life. Neurons can grow new branches, new pathways can be established. The brain can literally rewire itself in response to new experiences, new challenges, new learning. But this process, this miraculous, defiant, age-reversing process, requires one essential ingredient. It requires blood. Specifically, it requires the delivery of oxygen and glucose through a dense network of healthy cerebral capillaries that can expand and contract appropriately in response to the brain's changing demands. The brain regions most involved in new learning, the hippocampus, the prefrontal cortex, are among the most metabolically demanding tissues in the entire body. They require more blood flow per gram of tissue than almost any other structure, and they are exquisitely sensitive to vascular health. When people in their 60s and 70s retain the ability to learn new things easily, it is not simply because they are intelligent or educated. It is because their cerebral vasculature is intact. Blood vessels in their brain are healthy, flexible, and capable of delivering the extraordinary oxygen demands that new learning requires. And when people find that new learning has become impossibly difficult, when the mental fog thickens, when new information simply will not stick, when the brain feels slow and unresponsive, vascular compromise in the brain's learning centers is almost always a significant contributing factor. The intervention that has the most consistent scientific evidence for preserving and restoring cognitive plasticity is not a puzzle game, not a supplement, not a meditation app. It is a combination of physical activity, which drives cerebral blood flow through nitric oxide and other mechanisms, and genuine cognitive challenge. The brain must be challenged. It must be pushed into the uncomfortable territory of genuine novelty, and it must be fed adequately, consistently, through a vascular system that is maintained and nourished by all the lifestyle factors we have been discussing throughout this entire conversation. People who are still sharp at 75, still learning, still curious, still mentally agile, their brains are not the brains of 75-year-olds. Their brains are structurally, functionally, vascularly younger. They are demonstrating that the most complex organ in the known universe is still receiving everything it needs to do what it was designed to do: grow, connect, adapt, and learn. Now let us bring this all together. Let us understand what these 5 abilities are actually telling us. They are not party tricks. They are not fitness achievements to brag about. They are diagnostic windows, 5 transparent openings into the biological reality of your body at the deepest level of its function. Single leg balance tells you that your cerebrovascular system is healthy and your brain's neural pathways are intact. Grip strength tells you that your muscular and metabolic systems are maintaining the anti-inflammatory, insulin-sensitive environment that preserves every organ in your body. Rising from the floor tells you that multiple biological systems, vascular, muscular, neurological, skeletal, are still functioning in coordinated harmony. Brisk walking endurance tells you that your endothelium is alive and producing the nitric oxide that keeps your blood vessels young and flexible. Cognitive sharpness and the ability to learn tells you that your brain is receiving the blood flow it needs to remain plastic, adaptable, and genuinely alive. Together, these 5 abilities paint a portrait of a body that is not surrendering to time. A body that has maintained, through specific choices, specific habits, specific nutritional decisions, the vascular health, the metabolic vitality, and the neurological integrity that are the true definition of youth. And here is what I want you to understand with absolute clarity before you take another breath. Aging is not a sentence. It is a status report, and status reports can change. The science is undeniable. The biology is clear. The human body, even in its 7th and 8th decade, retains a remarkable capacity for regeneration, repair, and reversal of biological age, if it is given what it needs: the right nutrients to support vascular function, the right movement to stimulate nitric oxide and stem cell activation, the right cognitive challenges to maintain neuroplasticity, the right management of inflammation to protect every tissue from the silent destruction that accelerates biological age beyond calendar age. Every person who has been told that their age means decline, that their symptoms are inevitable, that the best they can hope for is management rather than restoration, they have been given incomplete information. The complete information says something radically different. The complete information says that your body has been waiting with extraordinary patience and remarkable resilience for you to give it what it needs to begin turning back. Not to judge yourself, not to feel defeated by what has slipped or triumphant about what remains, but to listen, to hear what your body is telling you about where you are right now, and to understand that where you are right now is simply the starting point of where you are going next. Your biology is not finished with you. The question is whether you are finished listening to it.